My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano. Well, it's the weekend, and this is a fun time, especially now that it's starting to get a little warmer, now that we're officially in spring. And even though there might be a little cold weather, a little rainy weather still with us, people's weekend endeavors go more towards the romantic. It could be a lot of fun for you if you're single and looking for somebody to meet. It could also be very lonely for you if you're in the dating pool and don't necessarily have a significant other. And in a lot of respects, we're in a very new era when it comes to dating. A generation ago, a dating website was very new. It was almost a novelty. Now, the rare thing is trying to meet someone for a date if it was not on a website or something along those lines. Someone who has been in this dating business for a long time and is a relationship expert par excellence is Jennifer Styers. Not only does she have 25 years of experience as a professional relationship expert, she runs a boutique matchmaking service and is the host of a very popular podcast called The Lovability Show with Jennifer Styers. Jennifer, it's great to have you on the program. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. I'm glad we finally connected.
Finally, yes. No, this will be fun. Yeah, dating today. I mean, it changes all the time, but it's very confusing now. There's a whole lot of barriers up, between online dating and what people can choose from and how picky people are now. It's crazy.
So let's take a step back and tell people a little bit about you. How did you become a relationship expert? How did you get that title or that classification? Instead of saying counselor, I've always done relationships. So it's just a little bit friendlier way to say that I counsel people. So I've done that a long time, got thrown into matchmaking by my clients. So they'd come to me, get healthy, want to get in a relationship, and then they couldn't find anybody. And just because I'd coached the whole city, I just started putting people together. So not my dream job, but it's been, I love it. It's amazing, but it's definitely not something I dreamt of as a child. Tell me about the Lovability Show. What do you do on your podcast? And if people tune into it, what can they expect?
Yeah, so it's all about relationships. It's, I've married people on, I have people that are single, and we talk about dating, we talk about relationships, we talk about what's going on, current events, what people need to do. It's like I said, the landscape is constantly changing with online dating or how to meet people, men changing, women changing, or women becoming more independent, the politics thing. You throw politics into everything, especially the last few years, and it's pretty nutty. So those are all the things that we talk about.
So let's talk about the political end of things. No secret, a lot of people have very strong political views on both sides of the aisle, and some couples, I guess the best known example is James Carville and Mary Madeline. They're opposites. They come at things from completely different political ideologies. Other folks have called me on the radio and said, I can't date someone who's a Republican, or I can't date someone who's a Democrat. In your experience, is it becoming more common that someone's political views are a red flag? Are you seeing in your experience folks that won't want to be set up with someone because of a political ideology?
100%. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and it's not just specific to age groups. It's everybody, and with each passing year, the more polarized people become. And when I say polarized, I'm saying like it is getting really to where it's not just people won't date. somebody of a different political party, they don't even like them. Like we've all seen it. We've all witnessed some of that. It's funny because everybody uses the same example of the one relationship that's worked for people that are in opposite political parties. But I do think, back in the days when there was Democrat and Republican and they weren't so far left or right, and it was a little bit more middle ground and people talked about things, we were in a different society. It is not that now. I mean, I think, Frank, what we're looking at, what I see more than anything, it's not that people are against the, conservatives. They're against Trump. So it's a person. It's very personal for a lot of women, especially women, just statistically. It's personal for a lot of people that it's not just you're conservative or you're on the right. It's like you're a Trumper, and along with that goes all these names, and I wouldn't date you. And so that's where we are. Is it getting better? I don't think so. Is it going to get better? I sadly don't think it is. I don't.
What do you attribute the ratcheting up of political acrimony to? Is that just a byproduct of the news cycle, or is there something else that's going on in people's minds or people's hearts that's leading them to not want to be commingling with someone of an opposite political view?
Well, if you ask me, I think, at the end of the day, everyone should be educated. And I think where people get educated and what information they're exposing themselves to matters, because we know that's happening. And I'm not trying to pick a side because it's happening on both sides, really. But I think the hard thing is our media, and we're both in the media. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's hard because, everybody's got their message, and it's important that, we find a more middle ground. I heard this statistic recently that by 2030, which is 5 years from now, almost 50% of women between the ages of 25 and 48 will be single and childless.
Oof.
I mean, that's a crazy statistic. I mean, what are we going to do when we stop having children? What's going to happen to our world? We're almost getting to a point of crisis. Women are becoming more independent, Frank. You probably know that. Women are becoming more independent. They're able to take care of themselves. They don't need a man. They want a man. They can choose, and they are choosing. And majority of women, are the ones that will not date outside of their party line. So there you have it.
At 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is Jen Styers. She is a relationship expert and the host of the Lovability Show with Jennifer Styers, which is a podcast not to be missed. Now, what happened to the old adage of opposites attract? Is that just no longer true, or was it never true?
Well, it's just one of those sayings, because it's opposites do attract, but they don't last. Just because of those things, you get together, then you realize, okay, you have different personalities, different interests, different values, and that's ultimately what ends up breaking up people. You may have a quiet person that is with somebody that's very outgoing. They like the outgoing personalities. The outgoing person likes the quiet person because they don't have to compete with their energy. So, but it doesn't last long term because they extrovert versus introvert. You just think of the most common example. It's not going to last long term. One wants to stay home, one wants to go out. And again, just as an example. So, it's the same. It's the same thing we're dealing with politically. Values are tied to politics, and when values are tied to politics, that's where opposites are going to not attract either. Is down the road when we've got to go. How are we going to raise our kids? What does religion mean? Is it a he, she, him, her, pronouns, all that. How do we feel about that? Families, all the things that go with values can vary per political party too.
Let's say you're already in a relationship. And I know some people listening to us right now that are married and, maybe they weren't excessively political 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but now they are. And they become more interested in politics and they end up gravitating towards opposite sides of the aisle. One person very pro-Trump, one person very anti-Trump. If you're in a relationship like that, it seems a real shame to let politics, for lack of a better term, toxify the relationship. Give folks who may fit that description a couple of tips as to how they can make a relationship with a political opposite work.
Well, I think, it's a great example. I think people that have been in a relationship and find themselves on opposite sides, the rule just really needs to be keep politics out of it. You've gone this long without it. And now, don't put politics in the middle of your relationship. I know a lot of couples and they just don't talk about it in their home. They don't allow their kids to talk about it. And they don't talk about it. So I think the no talk zone when it comes to politics is a fine rule. I think the other piece of it is that there were days and years and centuries and that we had conversations, right? We were open and we can agree to disagree, but still like each other. And I think for everybody in a relationship or not in a relationship, that's where we need to go is we need to say, look, there's something I can learn no matter how against I may feel against this, there's something I can learn and keep an open mind because somebody may not be just because somebody voted for Trump, they may not be the stereotype that you think they are. Be open to meeting them and talking to them and talking about your differences. It's okay to have differences in things that you believe as long as you have some middle ground that you can come to. And we should be able to do that. We're educated enough people to be able to do that now.
But when you have people coming to you that want to be set up, you're saying that you've noticed politics is increasingly a disqualifier.
It is. It is. When I say it's a non-negotiable for most people. There's some people that are like, I'm a little middle of the road, so it's okay. But it's very few people that are. Keep in mind, I'm in Texas. So it's, you have people strongly on one or the other side. They're strongly on one or the other side. And there is no middle ground, especially for, the more polarized we get, the more people get pushed to sides and they're more going to defend their sides too. So it's also not helping that everybody's so polarized about it, not having conversations because people are digging their heels in the ground and they're not wanting to change. And we can keep an open mind.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge. This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
Understood. Understood. If people are just tuning in, this is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Frank Morano, talking with Jennifer Styers. She's the host of the Lovability Show. One of the other things having nothing to do with politics that I've been observing from some folks in our audience is maybe folks are a little bit older, and for some people that means different things. For some people it means 60s, for some people it means 70s, for some people it means 80s, and they are finding themselves newly single, either because their partner has passed away or because they are getting divorced at a certain point, and they find themselves in the dating market. They still want to meet someone, and they find themselves in the dating market for the first time in a long time. Give tips to people that may fall into that category, that are newly single after being in a relationship for a long time. And does the advice that you give vary based on gender?
Yeah, well, it really doesn't vary based on gender. At the end of the day, they're going to come out of a relationship and into a very new world. And I would say the very last thing, 10 years ago, I'd say get on a dating app and get your feet wet. The very last thing I want anybody to do at this point is get on a dating app, because they will get creamed. They just will. They won't even know what hit them. That is not a playground for somebody that's been in a serious relationship that's ready to get out, even if they want to play. Not that. So it's just a different world. I would say for men and women to begin making friends. That means getting out, doing things you love. If you like biking, if you like hiking, if you like wine tasting, you like nice restaurants. Just get out amongst your people and amongst the groups of people, do the things that you love and meet people doing them. There's plenty of singles groups on social media for certain age groups, and they do events. But do things where you're meeting people face to face and getting back out that way, because you need to ease back into it, because it is very different than when you got in, when you met your person years ago. And I don't want people to get burned out and lose hope.
Yeah, no. And neither do I, obviously. I mean, the last thing you want is all these, very lonely people out there. One of the things that I've noticed with friends of mine who were female, who may be in their late 50s, early 60s, they're still in their prime, physically, sexually, to be honest, and it's very attractive in many, many instances. But I feel like I hear a lot of complaints from these women specifically about the lack of desirable men in an age group that they feel comfortable dating. They keep lamenting to me something to the effect of, there are no good men, there are no single men in our age. Is that just their perception, or is there a little bit of a dichotomy between the number of eligible women between, say, the age of 55 and 70 versus the number of eligible men in that age group?
No, it has nothing to do with that at all. As a matter of fact, this is one of the things I deal with all the time. It's who you're meeting. And that's why the women feel like that. And you are right. The women, as they get older, they I don't know, they come alive. Like you said, physically, sexually, they're taking really good care of themselves, and they look good, and they want a partner that can keep up with them. And you will see as men get older, some of them, stay in shape, are out there doing it. And I can say this because I do this for a living. As men approach mid-60s, 70s, for the most part, they start slowing down and are not as interested. So women in that age group may be very spunky and have a really active lifestyle, very active. I know many of them, and they will go younger for that reason. They'll date guys in their 50s for that reason, although the guys in their 50s are dating girls in their 40s because they can still. As long as they can, they will. But so there are age group things, but there are good men and there are good women. And if you're not finding them, you're not looking in the right places. I can assure you of that because I do this for a living. I live in a big city. There's a lot of crap, and there's a lot of really great people. If you're not finding the really great people, you're just not going to the right places, period.
Is the era of going out to a bar, singles bar or otherwise, and meeting a potential romantic partner over? Are we in an era now where you have to have a matchmaker or go through a dating app? Is it still possible to walk into a bar and find someone attractive and offer to buy them a drink? Does that still go on?
I think it does. I think there's people that still go to bars and hang out and, pick people up and then wonder why it didn't work out, since they were intoxicated. But that's beside the point. But do people meet that way? They do. And if you're going to do that, going to go have a drink, I always say hit happy hour. Hit the 5:30 to 7:30 because those are the people that leave at 7:30 because they're not there to, get drunk all night and pick up. But that's always a good time if you're going to go have a drink and meet somebody because it's a great time. You see a lot of professionals after work doing that, and that's great. It's not the best way for people to meet though as they get older. And I don't think people want to. Good people that have a good job, a good life. The last thing they want to go do is throw a ton of alcohol in their body and go to a pickup bar. So. I like to tell people to hit the happy hours for that.
Who would you say would most benefit from a matchmaker? Not necessarily you, but who would most benefit from going to a matchmaking service? Is it someone that's very busy and doesn't have the time necessarily to put into doing some of these other things that you've recommended, like going to activities that you enjoy and trying to meet someone there? Or is there someone else that I'm not necessarily thinking of?
No, it's all of the above. It's somebody that's busy, professionals that can't put themselves out there. It's risky and it's dangerous now. I hate to say that, but it really is. People have to be very, very careful out there dating. And so I think safety is another reason I'm a matchmaker that actually takes women, and I think safety is a big reason. But the average professional doesn't have time to be out hunting for someone. Mm-hmm. So it's almost, and I don't want to say it's like somebody giving me a menu, like here's what I want, but it's a lot more refined from a value standpoint and finding somebody that's right for them. When somebody knows that. Matchmaking is making a huge comeback now. It's actually a pretty good business. I just built a matchmaking app. We're going to be in Ohio in about 2 weeks. But matchmaking app is something I think we might see a little bit more of. We're the only one right now, but it actually has curated matches based on, values and things like that. So I think we'll see some new things springing up in this area as well. But
what's the name of it in case people want to download it?
It's called Lovability. It's the same as my podcast. Right. And yep, it's called the Lovability app. So like I said, we'll be out in Ohio in a couple of weeks. We chose it as one of our launch cities. So, it's just a refinement of it. I mean, because it's scary, because dating's overwhelming, because finding good people that are really relationship ready, you have that vetted through a matchmaker, most of them. And I'm going to say this, Frank, and it's so important to say, not all matchmakers are created the same. Please make sure you check out your matchmaker because I'm in the industry and most of them I don't associate with because they're in it for the money and they're not vetting people the way that they should. And it's so important that if you hire somebody and pay them a lot of money, that you make sure that they are the right person for the job and they have a good reputation and they're finding love for you for the right reasons based on intrinsic things, not just your menu of 6 foot tall, brown eyes, makes, $1 million a year, and having that kind of stuff. Matchmakers will do that for a really big price, but is that really what you want? Some people do, but.
Yeah. How often you just mentioned the $1 million a year criteria that some people may use. How often is money or success a criteria for folks who are looking for a partner? How often do people seek someone, male or female, who's wealthy or at least meeting a certain level of financial success?
Well, it's interesting. I think what you'll find is it's very common, especially for women with men. Men don't really care what a woman makes as long as she's got it together and has some kind of job and, life and she's healthy. But women, if they have money, they don't care if the guy has money. All right. That's the thing. So successful women, it's not as big of a deal. For women that aren't successful, it can be a really big deal. So a woman that doesn't make a lot of money seeks out a man that does because she's looking for a lifestyle often. And it's just the way it is. And the women that do have money and have a good job and have it together, they don't really care. They just want a good guy that can take care of himself and treat her right. So she doesn't want to support him, but she doesn't mind making more money than him and having that piece of it as long as he's got it together.
Hey, let's talk about how most relationships end, right? How most relationships don't end in marriage. They end in people going their separate ways. And this often leads to very emotional, hard feelings on both sides. Obviously, there was a trend called ghosting for a while. I think it may still be a trend where all of a sudden you just stop being in touch with somebody and kind of just cut them off cold turkey. But let's say you're in a relationship and it's not working out. What's the best way for that relationship to end? You don't want to necessarily have an hour-long debriefing explaining to this person why they're so horrible, but you don't want to be rude and explain why, why you not explain anything, just kind of go ghosting them. What's the best way to end a relationship?
Well, it depends on how long you've been seeing them. So if it's anything beyond, a few weeks, I think a conversation is needed. Even if it's over, even if you have to have it over the phone, you should have a conversation about it. It doesn't have to be super long, but be honest and be direct and let people know. Because if somebody is doing something, it would help them to understand. So if in case they have a pattern, they can get help for that. So it's very helpful to let them know if they're doing something detrimental to a relationship. If you've been seeing somebody long term, you'd be surprised how many people get ghosted after 6 months. They've been dating somebody exclusively. They're in love, they thought, and then they just disappear. And
I hear it from friends of mine all the time.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And it's, you know what? It's convenient. People can do it.
Right.
And they just drop off the face of the earth. Is it right? It's absolutely not right. And it's completely disrespectful. And it's mind blowing to me that people actually do that. But we have become a very lazy society when it comes to looking for love and getting out of love. And, we've got to do the work. We've got to be willing to have the conversations, the hard ones up front. Who are you? What do you value? What do you want out of life? Why did your relationships break up? Why did you divorce? All those things. I say first date, it's okay to keep it light. It doesn't have to be a heavy, but ask the questions. And then that way you don't waste any more time. And then if you need to break up with somebody, tell them the truth. Just tell them the truth with love, that's all.
We're going to have to end it there, Jennifer. I really appreciate the conversation. Really love the talk, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Anytime. Thanks, Frank.
Hey, if you want to comment on any portion of our conversation, you're certainly welcome to give me a call. Our phone number is 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. If you want to hear more from Jennifer, you can check out her show, The Lovability Show with Jennifer Styers, or just download that app, Lovability, if you're looking to meet somebody. It might be a good app for you. We'll continue with your calls and more straight ahead.